What song?
So when we posted on Patreon, we put the list up of all the streams that are available for the month. And for the month of December, there was a surprise Christmas present from us to whoever booked the first stream. Not booked the first stream, but like booked and did the first stream. It was like it was supposed to be the first done stream of the month. So that was Revo, and his prize, as you know, is this song. He gets a free song reaction. So we are gonna do Boohwal, The Story of You and the Rain. He says this is one of the big 3 Korean metal bands that debuted in 1986. You've reacted to another one of the big 3 bands, Sinha, the band that had Soitage as bassist, Farewell to Love, Metalizer. This band's songwriter is their guitarist Kim Tae-won. The band's English name is Born Again. By 1986, music that was previously banned had started being released as the government began loosening its restrictions. Protests had been building larger, and in a year the government would draw up a new constitution making it a democracy. This was originally supposed to be the lead single for their debut album Rock Will Never Die, but was swapped for Hiya by the band's managers. The guitarist wrote the song while in high school, and I imagine it's about someone he loved at the time. The band released 2 albums in 1986, but the guitarist spent most of 1987 through 1990 in jail on marijuana charges. I cannot believe what's happened to people for marijuana charges. It's so crazy. The band was actually successful with their second album, selling somewhere near 350,000 copies. The guitarist didn't know they were successful after release. The guitarist didn't know they were successful after his release from jail. The lead guitarist Kim Tae-won was 21, and the lead singer Lee Seung-chol was 20 at the release of this album. I couldn't find the birth year for the second guitarist, bassist, or the drummer at the time. To get their ages at the time. That's crazy. That is crazy. They went to jail for multiple years for weed.
All right, guys, here we go. This is the story of You and the Rain.
Oh, I'll give you the lyrics too.
Let's go. last thing is him saying he loves
Yeah,
them.
it says, I love you, I love you, I love you.
I think this is a relationship song.
Really? Are you sure?
I believe so.
Yes, but the sad part of relationships.
I mean, I guess.
It's they didn't make it.
Yeah, I mean, most relationships don't. Right? So, I mean, it's the whole loved and lost versus loving it all thing. I think, like, to be able to make a song like this is a privilege. It's better than... There are people, like, who literally, like, never get a taste of this at all. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, which one is which? You know? So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's sad, but at the same time, like, you gotta be grateful, because there's people that never get that experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, you know, they want it, but for whatever reason, they can't get it. And it's interesting, like, watching the political fallout. There's now a lot of concentration on young men because, you know, usually the younger generation skews blue, but this generation, the younger generation, the millennials and the zillennials are skewing red, and people trying to figure it out. I just think it's a lot of disconnection, and I think, you know, I've said this a million times, is that, you know, women have a civilizing effect on men. The desire to impress a girl or to, you know, have a career in such a way where you have an advantage on the market. There's a lot of things that make society go because a man is trying to wrangle, you know, a woman. And those are good things. And, you know, and so you got the young gangster or whatever, and he's in love with this girl, and the girl's like, I'm not having no baby with no gangster who's going to be in jail, in and out of jail, and shooting, killing people. And so he makes adjustments to his life because he wants that to happen. So, like, if you're looking, I'm looking at this right here in the context of the movie we just saw.
Okay.
You know, a child hoping for the snow to come. The rain says it misses you, compared to the romanticism of the rain, compared to the warmth of the rain. So we're contrasting snow with rain.
I think the rain is also, like, mixed in there with rain at the corner of your eyes. I think it's his tears. Or her tears.
Well, I mean, yeah. You got rain and you got snow.
And then the rain keeps falling onto the snow. I think it's that he's crying in all these different situations.
Yeah, it says the rain falls on the rain, and then the rain falls on the snow, and you inside of the rain. And obviously snow is just frozen over rain. And so their love has gone cold, so now it's snow and not rain, it looks like to me. So, I mean... you know, he says he cried a lot. And again, these guys are in their 20s, like literally early 20s, 20 and 21. So they haven't had a lot of life experience, but the older the younger you are, the more consequential these relationships are. And the more consequential the breakups are, and the more dramatic they seem to be. And then you get into your kind of mid-20s, into your 30s, and you realize, like, oh, okay, that wasn't really that big of a deal. Or maybe it happens the other way. Because it's interesting, for my friends who are dudes, like, I think all of us pretty much are the same consensus. Like, yeah, that was... But girls kind of... It just seems like it just follows them everywhere they go. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like
what do you mean follows them? Are you talking about past?
Yeah, the young teenager love that this is talking about, obviously, because
you're
these
saying
guys
that
were
men
20.
Don't think longingly back toward that young love that they had?
Yeah, I think dudes, especially like in 10 years' time from this guy's timeline, like when you hit 30 or whatever, you're like, yeah, like all that drama and all that effort I put into that relationship really wasn't like that. Then you got this other woman you're dealing with, and because you have a little bit more life experience and you have a different understanding of love than the experience that you had when you were 16 and 17, because there was really nothing to compare it to. You know, most people, you know, it's your first girlfriend, your first boyfriend. It's like you have nothing to compare it to. So you think that everything is critical. It's just like when you're a kid and you stub your toe and it's the end of the world. And then you realize, well, no, it wasn't the end of the world. But, so it just seems to me like dudes are more inclined to be like, yeah, I mean, you know, it was fun, but it wasn't as crazy as I thought it was. Whereas females, it looks like that person is stuck in time. They're a teenager. And if you... we're just going out with the guy for 6 months, like, that's when he could still kind of do the whole, like, best foot forward type of thing. And then if the break, for whatever reason, the breakup happens, so now he's frozen in that.
Yeah.
And the girl keeps going back to it, where it looks to me like dudes are more like, yeah, I mean, we're a kid, type of thing.
That's interesting. I mean, I didn't think that men looked at past relationships like that. I assumed that it was... I assumed it was the same thing, like, that... I think it's important to have perspective on the stuff. So, for instance, like you're saying, like, when you look back to the past, you don't say, like, the kids were asking me, they're like, what do you think about teen love, Mom? Do you think that it's pointless and nothing? But I remember people saying, oh my God, you're only 16, like, like it's like right on your...
You're only 16.
Yeah, you're only 16, like, it's nothing, but it was deep at the time, and I think that, like you said, like, there's a certain amount of love that you could have and experience at that age, and there is a certain amount of, like, you haven't experienced the longevity, especially like you said, if it's a 6-month, 9-month type relationship, you haven't experienced the longevity of what that person's sin nature is and what your sin nature is and how the two of those are going to come together and create that path that you're on. Because if you do have that short relationship, I do think that there are people that that have that in their heads and carry that on into their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. It can keep going if you don't, take a realistic look at it. And recognize that it was like that for that time period, and it was special and cool, like, when it was there. But at the same time, there's so much that it's like you said, they're frozen in time, and they're what a 16-year-old is going to cause for problems in a relationship, and what a 30-year-old is not the same.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just seems to me that dudes are like, oh, that wasn't real life, but women are kind of like, oh, like, I wish I could go back to being 16.
I think that there's definitely the sort of whimsical, there's not really any problems, like, you have the, like, all hope is ahead of you because you don't know, like, how many kids are you gonna have, like, but, like, I think that as you grow and you get older, you start, settling into, if I have one more kid, like, it would be one more, that's it. There's not going to be 5 or 6 more kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, but when you're a teenager, you don't know how many kids. Everything is a mystery and everything is, like, exciting and, like, what's going to happen next. It is a weird, what was that? Was that something I was listening to? Yeah, I think the person was saying, like, I'm not afraid of dying, but I am afraid of growing old. Yeah. It was a spoken word. I thought that was interesting, like, because most people are afraid to die. But this person's like, I just don't want to grow old.
Yeah, I mean, that was a phrase. Beware of an old man in a business that are only for the youth. But, yeah, man, like...
What did you think about... You didn't say what you thought about the ending, how they did that little speech at the end of the movie, where what he was saying to the men. Because you don't think like that.
Yeah, I mean... The ending was to appease, the society at large. So I didn't really take it seriously because it was not coming from the heart of the writer of the video. He did that to appease.
So you don't think older men think about younger women?
No, I
don't
think.
Majority. What do you think the majority of them are thinking about?
I don't think the way that he characterized it is true. Especially as being a man with daughters. I did not look at girls 20 years my younger in any way other than that could be my daughter. There've been a lot of times like we've seen people walking down the street. I'm like, man, Zoe and them should go hang out with those people, and they're like, yeah, they're like 25 years old, like. Yeah, like, so I didn't really put much stock into it, yay or nay, because, like, that was something that he added on at the end because he had to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, that didn't even come from him. So to me, like, I don't even, like, feel the need to comment on it because, like, it wasn't coming from him. You know what I'm saying? So, obviously I don't believe that's true. But
it kind of sounded like the evangelical, like, threats, right?
Yeah, every man's battle type shit.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, and like, really, this guy's issue wasn't really lust in the first place because he resisted all 3 of them girls. His issue was that
What was his issue?
yeah, he was too soft when he was confronted. Like, he didn't have any backbone to say, get the fuck out of here. Because initially, the first girl did what she did, and he did exactly the right thing. He reported her, got her, made distance between her and him. I'm with that 100%. I don't care what the girl would do. I'm not going to, like, fuck up my life and my family because you've got a crush. I don't give a damn if she's going to jump off a bridge or not. It wouldn't change my decision in any way, shape, or form. So the first one he did well. The second one, she started blackmailing him. She was like, "I'm going to tell everybody that you assaulted me," and blah 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 blah.
Well, no, she said that's what she said, that she was going to tell everybody that he was holding hands with that other girl. Right?
Yeah, and then she started ripping shit up, and then she said, "I'm going to claim that you did this and this and this to me."
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that girl. I forgot because it went right into the next one where the other scene happened.
Right,
oh my
so
gosh, I forgot about
she
that.
She threatened to me to him.
Yeah.
And he kind of floundered a little bit, and then when he was in that vulnerable situation, the other girl jumped on her and jumped on him, and that was the end of him. And so to me, like, his inability to stand up to that kind of pressure was his main flaw. He was not like hiring this girl because he wanted to look at some hot maid while she's cleaning the floor. That's not what happened. His wife was a spoiled materialist. And, you know, yeah, she was working, but I'm sure everybody was working. And the kids said, "We're the richest neighborhood. We're the richest kids in the neighborhood," because they had a TV and they had a maid and all the rest of it. Clearly, the wife is being looked upon as like this sort of proto-capitalist, like she's a materialist, blah blah blah. And it doesn't appear that he could ever stand up to her either, relative to her materialism or whatnot. And so, like,
we're talking about the Housemaid. If you want to see it, it's on Rumble.
Yeah, the Housemaid.
Because we kind of went back into it.
And so, like, a lot of dudes feel like the best way to express love to their woman is to, like, acquiesce to all their demands and all that shit, and that's how they show love. What they don't realize is that the woman is not taking it that way. Most of the time, when they put out these demands and the husband acquiesces, they're interpreting that as she beat them, you know, she you know, he's just weak, yada yada yada. They're definitely not saying he's doing this because he loves me. So, I mean, the dynamics of their relation, that's one of the things that just impressed me about the movie, because it was just
You're saying that when a man does what the wife is saying, "Hey, this is what I want to happen," or "this is what's important to me," then she doesn't respect him? Is that what you're saying? And she doesn't view it as love?
The context of this particular family is what I'm talking about.
Oh.
It's clear that the woman had no respect for her husband. Obviously. That's obvious. So, like, because he was trying to do the right thing. He's like, "I don't care what you do to destroy your family. I'm going to report you for killing my son." And then the wife was like, "Nah, chill." And then he just went with it. So to me, like...
And she prostituted him.
She's
like, "Go up there. Go to that bedroom."
To me, his weakness, his inability to stand up to his wife, his inability to stand up to the threats of these girls, that was his main flaw. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of weakness. If he would have been a man about it, he'd have said, "I'm going to fuck what you guys say. You know, I'm not doing that." Then none of that shit would have catalyzed itself. So, like, for them to put that at the end, like, every man is looking for a younger girl, like, that doesn't make sense. Like, based on the way this dude was acting. Like, the real lesson for me was, and, you know, if we were having the after-action report with my kids, with my boys, I'd be like, this is what happens when you're weak as a man. Like, if you've got a conviction, you got to stay on that conviction. Don't matter who's with you or who's against you. It doesn't matter what your reputation is. None of that shit matters. Hold to your principles or not. And he got kind of unmoored from his principles, and that you know. But dudes will do that with women though. Like, they'll, you know, like, if it's a certain kind of woman, like, your principles get bent all the time, and, you know, at some level, like, compromise is important. And then at some level, if you're compromising an idea, cool. But if you're compromising something that's, like, at the core of your being, that means a person doesn't truly love you like that, bro. Like, if you've got to completely change who you are to placate her and have her happy with you, she doesn't love you. She loves who you could be based on her influence and control. But that's how a lot of relationships work. And so, like, if we get out of, like, the romantic idea, like, what love is and what love is supposed to be, like, there are all different kinds of relationships. There is the Romeo and Juliet, mostly emotionalistic kind of, you know, romantic love. And then there's a very pragmatic, like, we need to combine resources, and there's no way to like progenate the species without us getting together. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of arranged marriages in India, and those arranged marriages do much better than love marriages, whether in India or America. So like there's just a lot of ways to do relationships, and I think Americans can only see one aspect of relationship. And then when you talk about duties in a relationship, that's when people get really funny, because there's no way to make a duty sound romantic, you know. But at some point, like it was this man, I believe it was a man's duty to lead. And honestly, this is what happens when you don't have patriarchy in a household. You had a matriarchal household where the women were defining everything. You know, women's superpower is that they are much more in touch. There is less variance between the external presentation of emotion and what a woman is feeling than with a man. A man can feel like X and project Y. You know, in this particular movie, the women felt X and they projected X. And when you're more tapped into your emotions, it's a superpower as far as self-awareness goes, but as far as decision-making goes, it is a serious weakness. And that got played out in the house. And he abandoned his position as the leader of the family. And then you had all these girls in there running the shop, and you know it turned into complete chaos. And then at the end of the the movie, it's like, hey, as we get older, we all look for young men that are the age of our daughters. Like, it was just such a crazy way to summarize the movie.
Yeah, I did think it was a surprising ending, because I felt like the whole movie felt like it was like deep, and then. That seemed like a little bit of a throwaway, but at the same time, I wasn't sure if what he was. I was thinking about. You remember that pastor that basically said that weirdness? He talked about his daughter.
Oh yeah,
and that was kind of what he was communicating.
Yeah.
And so I was like, is this some sort of like fountain of youth type thing? Like as the person is getting older, like it's this, I was just talking about Kim Kardashian with that younger kid. Was it Justin Timberlake? I'm not really sure, but like there was quite an age gap.
Nah, Justin Timberlake and Kim Kardashian are pretty much the same age.
Well, it wasn't that. There was a gap. There was like she's like 43 and this one was like in the mid 20s. To me, that was like crazy, because I can't imagine it. Like, I can't separate, like, once I'm a mom, like, I never went back to not feeling like a mom. And I'm not sure, like, I don't think I liked that completely, because there's, like, sort of, like, an autonomy that you want to kind of feel without feeling like a mom title.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I can't not feel like a mom. So, like, to, like, a younger kid like that, like, I don't know how that's just weird to me. And, I have a major issue. Like, I understand the kid going for, like, Kim Kardashian, it makes sense. But her doing that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and I just think the dynamics are different between men and women in those situations. But, like, for them to end the movie that way, I was like, gosh,
yeah, it was
that's not the lesson I got, but whatever. What'd you get the song?
I was surprised, like, what they did with the vocals. They got, like, a little bit grungy in there.
Yeah.
And metally and stuff.
Almost metally, yeah.
Yeah, I was very surprised about that. I'm not sure when this... Is this two album, 1986?
1986.
Yeah. And then they had all that trouble. I'm going to give this one a 9.8.
Whoa, I'm going to give this one a solid 9.2.
I'm giving it for the time period in which it came out, the way that they did the vocals, and the fact that this guy went to jail and didn't even know he got famous while he was in there. Like, all those things factored in. So, yeah. So, shout out to our director.
You go from a stage of screaming fans to a freaking... And I don't imagine that those prisons or jails were very accommodating
for
either.
For 2
man.
years?
Like, that's just mind-boggling. That's just mind-boggling.
For 2 years?
Mind-boggling to me. That happened to people in the world. I give it a 9.8. I'm going to push it to a 9.2. Shout out to the big homie Revo. Much love to you, buddy. Yeah, we're a little late, but we made it happen.
Yep,
so
we've got another stream tomorrow, you guys. It's DJ
Nick, I believe.
DJ Nick is up. So
is it Director Nick or DJ Nick?
It's DJ Nick. It's gonna be songs.
We got a bunch of
songs.
We got a bunch of metal for you, beautiful people, tomorrow.
Come through. Come through. Check on Patreon to see what time the stream's going to be starting at.
Be square. Having said that, they're listening to Vin.